you're never going to see transformation in your life without transparency. So if we can get transparent together and talk through this, you're going to be able to see, you know, you're going to be able to see life change. I'm a lifelong learner, and the biggest room in my life is the room for improvement. So like, let's just, everything that we do, but we're not going to perfect it in one day. But if we can just stay consistent on the process and keep building and keep building and keep building, then I know like we're going to make it great. It's just going to take time and being patient with that. I treat every small thing like it's a big thing so that when big things come, they could be like small things, you know? And like, I guess it's like not being in a rush with whatever you're stewarding today, you know, knowing that it can be preparing you for something even greater in the future.
Turn this up, turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi. Welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where we learn how to become the most incredible versions of ourselves by learning from each other. Today, I have the honor of having Mark Supak on the show. He's a former hip-hop artist, youth pastor, church planner, assimilation and youth small groups director, so many things. But he's currently the executive pastor at Rust City Church in Niles, Ohio. So, Mark, that was just a little bit about you. How about you introduce yourself the way you would do it?
Oh, man. I don't know how to introduce myself. I'm just Mark. Yeah. Hey, I'm
Mark,
honored to be here.
that's an honor to have you. Should I call you Trademark?
Oh, no. Yeah. So
No?
that was my rap name right there. But no,
Yeah,
I'm retired. I'm retired.
retired.
I left the
Right. So
game.
you left the game. Yeah, so tell me more about that. Like how you got into rapping, what caused you to leave the game. Yeah, I'll hear more
Yeah.
about that.
So um I started rapping at 13, and
Wow.
I started to get to a spot where I was freestyling. For those that don't know what freestyling is, it's like making up as you go. So you
Yeah.
have all kinds of rappers out there, but like maybe what you would consider a battle rapper or someone that is, you know, going against and they're pointing out things that you know it's real time when they're rapping. So I was
Hmm.
freestyling like an hour a day, and
Wow.
I actually no lie to this is really funny, but I took about 2 weeks, and actually I would rap everything I said. Every conversation I rapped for 2 weeks straight just to
For
get better
two
at
weeks.
rhyming. Yeah,
Wow.
it helped me. So it
Hmm.
helps me with writing too, because you learn how to put syllables and words together. So at 13, I was doing that. And then I would just continue to do music. And I was serving a local church. And I'm so thankful for youth ministry because they created a space for me to do it there. And so
Okay.
um, I was doing it all the way up to when 18 years old. I put out was part of a group called EBE Crew, and we put out
Wow.
our first album and did our first tour right off of that album. So I remember I was a senior in high school, and I made a deal with my parents because I had to like leave and miss a lot of school because I was
Whoa.
traveling and doing music. And so I had to
Wow.
I literally had to use this thing. My education was through called ACE. So it was a PACE. And so it's
Okay.
like 12 booklets for each subject. And so I remember
What?
I had to take those, yes. And I had to complete 12 booklets in a year. So I started about 3 booklets that I completed. And then
Okay.
um, I had to take those booklets and take them with me. So I basically was homeschooling before homeschooling in a sense, you know, like homeschool was happening,
Hmm.
but it's not like it is viral today. Like everybody homeschools
Oh
today
yeah.
compared
Yeah.
to what it was then. It puts some time on me. I hate that, but makes me feel old. But yeah, so I was doing that 18, and then we did a couple mixtapes. I did a solo
Okay.
EP, and then
Wow.
did a solo album, and I put out, oh man, one, two, three, four, about 5 records
Wow.
that we put out, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Wow. Five records, traveling in high school, homeschooling before it was even cool. Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no, it you know, um, I learned so much through that. I learned how to at a young age how to discipline my time,
Mm,
because for me, I did not like school, and
mm,
I learned that I had to get the hard work done to do what I felt I was excited and what fueled me, which was
mm,
music at the time. And so I was very goal oriented of I need to get this done so I can do this, and
mm,
living a disciplined life, because you're traveling where it's like if you don't get this done, you're not going to be able to go on the tour. So you got to get
mm.
this done, you know. And
Yeah.
so I was kind of taking on responsibility at age 18 that most 18-year-olds weren't. So it kind of,
Mm.
in a sense, I was still immature and made a lot of dumb choices at 18. But at the same standpoint, in a sense, it kind of grew me up quick,
Mm,
because I had this responsibility, and I was booked to go to different cities and different locations, and knew like I can't this let people down, um and or I'm going to lose money too, just I got all this
yeah.
product, and so it really helped me take on responsibility and also
Mm.
leadership, because I was leading a team. So
Oh,
I
wow.
had to make sure that they were good and that everything was right with them and that they were prepared and that they knew all their stuff. And then, like, so it's that independent artist, that like
Mm.
kind of you independent artists become entrepreneurs because they have to take care of every side, not just get on a microphone and do music. So I just learned a lot through that, and that really helped me honestly for the different stages of my life.
Are you looking for a place to continue to grow and develop, especially in your leadership? How about connecting with others who feel the same way? Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, aka IncrediPaul, and I've got great news for you. The IncrediPaul community is for people who desire to become the most incredible versions of themselves. The community is for individuals who are goal driven and action oriented. This community is dedicated to leadership and personal growth, especially in going deeper in your career, starting a business, or developing a business. Join me in becoming the most incredible version of yourself. Go to incredipaul.org/community to join the waitlist and sign up. INCREDI Paul.org/community. Join the waitlist. I can't wait to see you there. Wow. Do you feel like that was foundational to your leadership journey?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was key to. I think I'm still running some of the same plays, just in different areas today of what I was doing then. So, um, yeah, it was fun, and it helps you, help me think ahead and plan and prepare.
Mm.
Like, we're going to Seattle, we're going to Miami, we're going to, how do I, all those little details,
Yeah.
that an 18-year-old's not thinking about, 19-year-old's not thinking about, a 20-year-old's
Yeah.
not thinking about.
Yeah.
So it really did help me a lot, and gave me a foundation, um, you know, to stand upon, to, when that season ended for me of music, that, hey, I know I can do this, maybe just in a different space, in a different lane.
Mm. Oh, that's powerful. Just the learnings you got. I know you talked about discipline as well. Discipline is
Yeah.
so huge for everyone, but especially for leaders, because
Yeah.
leadership is not easy at all. Like,
Yeah.
some people want to be leaders just so they could be in charge, but it's like leadership is not for the faint of heart. And the fact that
Yeah.
you were able to recognize that when you were 18 and 19 and were intentional and disciplined to get your people to all these different cities and really learn what it means to be an entrepreneur, which is wearing multiple hats and doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I think about today, like the greater impact I want to make in life is comes down to you know, how much discipline do I want to have in my life and how disciplined do I want to be? And I think of that scripture in Proverbs where it kind of talks about this. It says that the disciplined life is the way to life. It is the life is the disciplined life. And so it's like God's life, what God's best for our life is how I look at it. God's best for our life is determined based on how disciplined I want to be. And so, I want to embrace that process and embrace that because discipline, no pain, no gain, right?
Yeah,
So it's like,
seriously.
like why don't I embrace it instead of
Hmm.
resisting it? I want to embrace it. So I think like even in this season of my life now, I think the only way I can go to the next level or attain the things that are in reach for me to accomplish is I think the source of all that is how disciplined am I going to be?
Mm,
So yeah, 100 on that.
absolutely. Well, talk to me more about the season you are in your life. Because I know I mentioned at the beginning that you're currently the executive pastor of Rust City Church. I know that's fairly new, within about a
Yeah.
year now. So yeah, like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, what a new season and a new opportunity. I was a youth pastor for 15 years, and
Mm,
I was a youth pastor for 13 years at Church on the Rock. So,
mm,
uh, I was in a great, incredible atmosphere and environment,
mm,
and you know, I think that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for the mentors and leaders in my life
mm.
that brought the best out of me. They say like, show me your friends, show your
Yeah.
future. Where you are is really located by like, what are your top 5 friends? That kind of
Mm,
the mindsets of it's really important your relationships and the
mm-hmm,
people that you're connected with. And being where I was at Church on the Rock, where you attended and I had
mm-hmm,
the chance to serve, I was in an environment that was a growth mindset environment and
mm-hmm,
an attitude of improvement. And I had examples, you know, uh, in front of me to show me what that looks like. It's one thing when you have someone teach you it, it's another thing when they actually show you.
mm,
And so I was, I look at it to say I had leaders in my life, and for me, it was Pastor David Blunt. I mean, he's just, to me, is my hero. And he was an example to show me at age 70, like that when some people are retiring or kind of slowing down, he's
mm-hmm.
he's gaining more. And so it showed me
Yeah.
like, yo, this is the way to life. And how
Mm-hmm,
I want to get further and better and stronger is going to come down to how hungry am I and how bad do I want it? And am I going to be disciplined enough? So, we're talking about discipline, but
mm-hmm,
I just look at that and go, you know what? I wouldn't be today an executive pastor. I bring this all up to say is I had no idea that I'd be an executive pastor.
mm.
But I had these examples and models and leaders in my life speaking life and bringing the best out of me. And then I
Wow.
found myself at a place where I'm like, man, I really enjoy doing A, B, and C. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's an executive pastor. Wow, okay, cool. So it's not
Mm,
like chasing the title as much as it is just enjoying the journey and growing and getting
mm,
better and wanting to get better and then stumbling on it. I'm kind of
Yeah.
like my personality. I don't know about you, Paul.
Yeah.
Like, um, I don't like to like force things. It's kind of like maybe
Mm.
in hip hop, you do a song. I would record a song, and even though I had the concept and it sounded right and everything, but it just
Mhm.
felt forced. It felt rushed.
Mhm.
It just didn't feel like it was intended. And so I kind of look at that like with every season of my life is I never want to force it.
Mhm.
Your gift will make room for you, and so
Yeah.
like God really opened that door through great preparation and having the right training and having the right leaders and having the right mentors that it was like, oh, I should do this. Like,
Mhm.
rather than like, I saw somebody on Instagram and said, I want to be an executive pastor. Like it's a little different,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I, it just, it just kind of naturally came to that
Mhm.
where I sat down with my mentors and said, well, what does that look like? And then
Mhm.
really had to like I stumbled across it rather than like forcing it and saying by year 5 I need to be doing this. And I know that that works for some people. It just
Yeah.
didn't work for me,
Yeah.
So, what about you?
As far as like what I resonate with, or like how I form my journey, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because I'm looking at like your career and all the
Mhm.
things that you have been through. Like you have desires, but
Mhm.
did it just immediately come to you, or did you have something that you worked towards, or how did
Yeah.
you get to what you're doing today?
Yeah. So without taking the rest of the time of this podcast, I will summarize. It's like what I'm doing today, a lot of stuff I do with podcasting, with coaching, with
Yeah,
speaking. That's what people see on the podcast. But I also
yeah.
work full time as an engineer, newly in the last couple of months as R&D engineer. And I would say it was
Mm,
definitely a journey because up until the time I was about to enter college, even after I entered college, dead set on going to medical school, becoming a doctor. And it's what you
mm,
said as far as enjoying the journey, seeing things along the way, getting mentorship, seeking out people. One of the things that I had opportunity to do was to do a summer program in research. And really, I only did it because I was getting paid and it was an opportunity.
mm,
Yeah, an opportunity to go to Iowa State and be there over the summer, get used to the campus, meet some people. So I said, get used to the campus, meet some people before the rest of the freshmen come in, and I'm getting paid. Sign me up. So that was the reason why. It wasn't
mm,
because I enjoyed research. I really understand what research was at the time, but God used that. And so I ended up doing research all 4 years while I was at Iowa State. It was biomedical research. My background's chemical
wow,
engineering. Yeah, I had a minor in biomedical engineering. And then was trying to decide, do I want to stay on this research path, go to grad school, or go the engineering path in the industry?
yeah,
I felt led to go into industry. Worked at the General Mills of the world, Nestle, Purina, Henkel, now at Mars. And it's funny because you said like this journey is that I I would be in on a path in manufacturing, get close to work with R&D and be doing working side by side with them, but never actually be in R&D, even though it's something I always wanted. And
uh-huh,
and then the last role I had as continuous improvement manager was like probably the furthest detour away from it. And so after a while, I kind of just gave up on it. I was like, okay, maybe I stick to the management route. And then God just opened the door when I least expect it for this opportunity that I'm
mm,
currently in. But that was all from continuing to learn along the way, ask questions,
mm,
seek mentorship,
that's good.
and just be the best at what I'm doing currently.
Yeah, wow, so good. Wow, that's so good, man.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned like what you're doing as executive pastor. what were some things, because it wasn't necessarily the title, it was more the things that executive pastor does. So what were some of those things that you realized, like, I want to do more of these things, that led you to becoming an executive pastor?
Yeah. Well, I think like that's a good question. I think for me was so after I was in the rap career and then went to youth pastor, um, I I was like, I know what the rap career looks like, and
Mm,
like you can't do that in youth pastor and youth pastor well. You can manage a bunch of different stuff, but I was like, yo, I can't do this. So I
mm,
bring that up to say is in youth pastoring, I started to get curious about beyond just reaching young people, but reaching their families.
mm.
And how can I impact their family? Because I'm motivated by results. Like I think about Gary Chapman's book, The Five Love Languages.
Yeah.
What's your love language? I always laugh because I'm like, I know that has to do with like relationships, but my love language has to be results. Like I you can give me compliments, you can give me gifts, you can do whatever, but my
Right.
love
Yeah.
language at the end of the day is I need results. Like I
Uh-huh.
need lives change, I need families
Mm-hmm.
impacted, I need students serving God, but also like not being stewarded well and help and like
Mm-hmm.
healthy, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. So I started going like, oh, it's the family unit. And so then you start to
Mm.
think about, you look for, okay, where are we missing it? And so I just got
Mm.
kind of curious and like
Okay.
not being afraid to fail and
Mm.
started to like I was in an environment where they were like, yo, you can try different things too. And so I had that trust, where it's like, hey, try this. So I would do youth, but I would do something over here on the side, that it
Oh,
involved the
wow.
moms and dads or something on the side of this. And it came from like maybe a basketball tournament to then it
Mm.
came to a simulation and what does that look
Mm.
like to assimilate people within the church and
Mm-hmm.
then it came to small groups and so I started doing these things and I was actually having a conversation about this is like I started implementing new processes and like being a part of that and just had
Mm.
that I felt empowered to do it, felt trusted to do it and I
Mm-hmm.
just enjoyed the curiosity of hey, we don't have this all together, but we're going to learn together. And just having this mindset, like I'm a lifelong learner, and
Yeah.
the biggest room in my life is the room for improvement. So, like,
Mm.
let's just everything that we do, but we're not going to perfect it in one day. But if
Mm-hmm.
we can just stay consistent on the process and keep building and keep building and keep building, then I
Mm-hmm.
know like we're going to make it great. It's just going to take time and being patient with
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I found myself in, I had no intentionality to be a small groups director or no intentionality to do a simulation. Like I never just said, I want to do this. It was more like, hey, how can we like get people more connected within the church? So it's kind of
Mm.
looking at like the problem and the
Okay.
solution and then going, oh, okay, well, we can and so I kind of look at like my time doing those things. I don't think I was the best. I think
Mm-hmm.
that I I think that we had great results because we had a great team.
Mm.
And I think that I just was like, let's solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was just finding a problem and solving it. And let's solve the problem and let's impact people's lives. And what filled my cup was, yo, we got results.
Yeah.
And like we saw the results. We saw the
Mm-hmm.
church get healthy. We
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of good things take place. Um, and so that made me wonder like I probably could do this in other areas because to
Mm-hmm.
me it was never about if I do small groups or not, or if I do youth or not, or if I do it's like how can we make an impact on the entire church?
Mm-hmm.
How can we leave a legacy for generations to come? How can we like playing the long game rather than like, hey, I want to make a reel. Like, I'm like, I ain't got time for no reels. Let's just see real change in people's lives, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Mm,
I just want to like, because there's a lot of people that can like try to show off stuff, and
yeah.
like to me, it's like, oh, like this is about every name, that's a person. Every number,
Hmm.
that's a person,
Hmm.
and the impact of generations to come. I'm not playing. Everything I'm doing is not for just earthly results, but it's actually for me. It's like the results for eternity of what's going to
Hmm.
happen on the other side of heaven, what that looks like.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
so for me, that journey was to answer your question. I answered it kind of long, but just the journey was like I tripped into this. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
see a problem. Let's fix that problem.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's the students connected, but the mom and dad are not connected,
Mm,
but they don't have time to serve. How can we get them connected? Well, maybe this is a very easy, simple way just to get them in small groups. Maybe they
mm,
just need to go through our simulation class and know what we have to offer because they got
hmm,
30,000 other things going on in their life and they just need to hear what we have to offer and they can get a part of it. And now I'm
hmm.
looking at it going, it's not just the young person being impacted, but it's the entire family being impacted. And that doesn't always work, but I could see a more complete impact take place within the family. And I was like, yo, if I have a family that's healthy, there's a better chance for that student to make it in their spiritual walk.
Wow. That's really powerful what you said with seeing these problems and how they connect to each other. Because, like you mentioned, you
Yeah,
started off being focused on youth, but realized in order to help the youth, you had to really help the whole family unit. And
yeah,
yeah, I know you mentioned that you are a youth pastor for 15 years, but you were doing a lot of these other stuff for a while too with the assimilation and the small groups. I know small groups is how we got connected,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's so powerful for small groups. I don't know people on the show, like if you're not a person of faith, we're people of faith. We're talking about it. Is that small groups
yeah.
are similar to what you might hear mastermind groups? Is really the
Oh,
power of getting a bunch of people together who are on a specific topic, want to grow together, learn together, and ours is really centered on our it's centered on our faith, but also we have different special interest groups. 'Cause I know some just go get burgers, some get coffee, but using
yeah,
these different tools in order to build the youth and the whole family. That's really powerful. Are you wondering what's next? Has everything you tried failed? Or maybe you just feel stuck? Then coaching might be right for you. The coaching relationship is a relationship totally centered on you. If you're tired of running on the hamster wheel of life and want to start to see results, reach out to IncrediPaul for help. So what are you waiting for? Go to incredipaul.org/coaching, IncrediPaul.org/coaching, or at I am IncrediPaul on all my socials. Or you can click the link in the bio for your free coaching session. I want to make sure you become the most incredible version of yourself.
yeah. I looked at it and I don't need to we don't need to get deep into this, but I just thought I would say I looked at small
Yeah.
groups of like, man, like sometimes people just need to have someone to talk to and
Mm,
bounce something off of. And I kind of look at it like you're never going to see transformation in your life without transparency.
mm,
So if we can get transparent together and talk through this, you're going to be able to see, you know, you're going to be able to see life change. It's like, sometimes, in our, we're talking of faith. I'm in church world. So like
mhm,
some people, sometimes in the church, we just say, just give it to God, everything to God. It's like, absolutely give everything to God, but God orchestrates his will and his purpose through people. And
mm,
so we gotta like he said it's not good for man to be alone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we need to be together, and we're better together, and we can sharpen each other, we can hold each other
Mm-hmm.
accountable, we can pray with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just was very significant. Now, light, just to say, like, I don't think it's the only answer. I just think it was one problem we were trying to solve, and felt like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
we really have a place now for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the teaching of God's word, and Pastor Blunt says it's the greatest teacher on the planet. So it's like,
Yeah.
but now you have somebody to do life with,
Mm-hmm.
and walk out what he just taught on, that you
Mm-hmm.
guys can hold each other accountable and talk it through, because the end game is, how can we live this out, how can we walk
Mm-hmm.
this out, and we got to do it. We can't do it alone. We need
Mm-hmm.
each other to do that. So it was kind of like finding, hey, we gotta group up. And I'm glad we did that, because it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My timeline, for people who don't know, the timeline of when we did it and launched it was right, like a year or so, really, like before COVID. And I'm
Wow.
thankful that we did that before COVID, set the foundation for that,
Mm-hmm.
because we going through COVID, we needed each other like never
Yeah.
before.
Yes.
Like, so I look back and go, God, you knew what you were doing, based on me recognizing a problem 2 years before that, to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, you knew what you were doing. And I don't say that to say, like, the credit, God gets that credit. And not just
Mm-hmm.
that, just God, but God used a bunch of people to help make
Mm-hmm.
that possible. And so I'm thankful for the leadership, and just the support, and then amazing team that said, hey, let's get behind this. But I'm so thankful that we built our foundation before COVID. So when COVID
Yes.
hit, we could actually lean in and help each other.
Yeah. No, that's it's so awesome how God's timing works out to be able to have that foundation beforehand, to have people lean in, because like you mentioned, COVID, people needed relationships more than ever, and to have that foundation already built and just to roll into it, that along with a lot of the
Yeah,
online stuff the Church on the Rock been doing for a while had already been built and established, so it made it pretty much seamless.
right. Yeah. Thankful for you, man, because you made that happen. You were all in that. You made that happen. And so I'm thankful for you and the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And thankful that, like, even though you were doing all this stuff, like we just talked about, like, in your career, and you're continuing to moving forward, that you created the space to still be a part of something like this, to help other
Mhm.
people, and didn't treat it like it was sideways energy. You treated it like, yo, no, I'm still going to make time for this, because I know that that's
Absolutely.
hard for busy, successful people.
Yeah. No, it's true. I'm thankful for your leadership, and I would say, like, for anyone listening to this, like, if you're not sure what to do, where to get plugged in, the church is a perfect place to try stuff and
Yeah,
learn. Because I
yeah.
remember when you reached out to me about small groups, and that was the time I was traveling 75-80% of the time. I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. And then after praying about it, I was like, okay, God's like, yeah, you should do this. I was like, we'll figure out a way to do it. So obviously it was virtual, just because nature of my travel. But from that, because during that time I didn't have the podcast yet, didn't even think about starting a podcast, was learning a little
Yeah.
bit more about mastermind groups. And so from the small groups really allowed me to get more comfortable leading these kind of group things, and because it was virtual and I recorded it so my team members could look at it, it made me more intentional about my presentation, and like watching the videos back, like what my body language looked like. So I didn't realize it, but all of that was
Yeah.
preparation for all the stuff I'm doing right now.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Yeah. It's funny how we just fall into it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I kind of don't look at, like, I treat every small thing like it's a big thing, so that when
Mm-hmm.
big things come, they could be like small things, you know,
Yeah.
and like I guess it's like not being in a rush with whatever you're stewarding today, you
Hmm.
know, knowing that it can be preparing you for something even greater in the
Hmm.
future.
Absolutely. Yeah, you never know where that small thing is going to lead. And even with your leadership, thankful for your leadership. I know you talked a lot about Pastor Bud and his leadership, and you
Yeah,
can say a lot about the people who are supporting you, but in order to achieve great things, you have to have a great leader. And that's one of the main reasons I was like, I have to have Mark on this show because he really embodies an incredible leader from what you're able to do, being intentional and continuing to grow and progress. It's admirable.
praise God. Praise God. Man, appreciate you.
Yes.
Praise the Lord.
So with that, how do you go about developing your leadership?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think there's many ways to all that. I think for me, it's as simple as being a lifelong learner.
Mm,
Um, for me, that's where it starts. I think you can see
mm.
up there, like my son found that I think like a Dollar General or something, and was like, "Oh, dad should have this." But it says never stop learning,
Mm,
and like that's it right there. Where I feel like if I could just continue to learn
mhm,
um, as a leader, um, and if I'm open and if I'm teachable, I think about like it's funny. I think about my mentors asking me what am I learning, and now as more of like I'm more of in a boss mode than I was
yeah.
like as far as my position is concerned. That's the number one question I'm asking. What are you learning? You know, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. So it's like, what am I learning? And how can I apply to my life? I just so I'm constantly looking, listening, like asking questions. And then you know when we talked about mentors, um, uh, creating like preparing questions. I was with a mentor today actually, and I said, hey, I don't know if we'll have time for this, but I texted him like I don't know if I have time for this, but I have two questions, and just like mentor questions, wanting to grow, and like we ended up having time, but even if we didn't, it's like I just want to like whenever I get around someone that is further than me, someone that I look up to, I just want to lean in. And so when you talk about developing it, I think there's many ways to it. I don't think there's I could point you different directions, but I think for me it's as simple as you know what am I learning? Like what am I like today? How am I going to get better for tomorrow? And just I guess more focusing on the process rather than the end results. We
Mm,
all said I said before, like I
yeah.
results is my love language. I want to see results,
Yeah.
but just falling in love with the day to day
Yeah.
and um, the mundane, um, the you know of like, hey, I just like what is my personal growth plan,
Hmm.
and that has been a big thing for me is like looking at that. What's my personal growth plan? And have I adjusted my personal growth plan? And does my personal growth plan give me like we all have dreams, desires, goals to get to? Are these things that will help me get to that?
Mm,
And so that personal growth plan, and then really focusing on the process of what I need to stop and start. So that's something like I'm really big about. In fact, I'm our staff here that I'm leading is I've created for every one of them an individual growth plan, and which involves a personal growth plan, but then it all involves what they're doing because you could be doing a lot of things, but what if you're doing the wrong things, like, or they're not the priorities? And I know this, I know this in any kind of job, like, is like we can think some, there could be a disconnect through communication where I think this is a priority, where my boss is actually not even thinking about that. Something else is a priority. So it's like I need to keep on staying on the same page, and so I'm looking at their personal growth plan, and then I'm looking at their process and what that looks like, and then the preparation to get to the product. So I look at those four things, and that's how I evaluate. And if I don't like my product, I go back to the other three: the personal growth plan, the process, and the preparation, and say we need to tweak these things to get the right product. So I kind of look at, I know a long-winded answer to that,
Oh,
but
it's
I
perfect.
kind of start with learning, and then
Yeah.
I kind of look at my personal growth plan, and from that I look at my process. So I'm not trying to read a book just to be philosophical. I'm reading a book to think, how can I apply this
Mm-hmm.
principle to my life for
Mm-hmm.
for something that I'm doing, whether that's leadership, whether that's communication, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's bringing unity to the team, whether that's policy. So I'm kind of looking for that, and I find my principles through really just learning and spending time learning.
Wow. No, that's really powerful. Especially what you started off with, just being intentional about your learning, having that personal growth plan. And that's incredible that you have personal growth plans set up for all the people that report you
Yeah,
on your staff, because
yeah,
just to understand, like what you said, that just so that the alignment is there between what they think they should be doing versus what you think they should be doing, make sure there's alignment,
yeah,
that we're all moving towards the same direction. I know Pastor One talks a lot about how you create cultures, having people saying the same things, doing the same things.
yeah,
That's how we have all these power phrases and things that we say.
yeah,
But all of that really comes with the learning part of it. And I like what you said about not just learning or reading just to be philosophical, but you can read all the books in
yeah.
the world. But at the end of the
Right.
day, like, are you applying them? Are you doing what the book has
Yeah,
said? Otherwise, it's just an expensive paperweight, a bunch of these books, or I mean, you maybe got it digitally, so maybe your phone is just an expensive paperweight. But and there's this concept that someone was telling me about, like the layered learning, because just because you've heard something before doesn't mean that you shouldn't hear it again, and it can build on each other, build on what
uh-huh.
you've learned, and not being afraid, because sometimes that we can hear someone say the same thing over and over, but it might be like a ninth or 10th time before it actually clicks and like, this is what I need to do. So really be
Yeah,
intentional about continuing to learn. That's powerful.
yeah. And it's interesting. Like having the honor to serve under Pastor David Blunt. I know he's been
Mhm.
on the podcast,
Yeah.
and he I got a chance to meet with him and ask questions. So I literally have books of like our meetings of answers and different things, and I go back to those and I look at those and I go, that's right, yeah, this or so that like I look at it like, yo, I'm constantly like you can reflect and learn back on stuff. And it's so funny because some things that maybe didn't make the sense, they made sense at the time, but they like make 100 times more sense now than
Yeah.
they did like, because you're maturing and growing. It's like
Hmm.
that. So when you said layered, I thought, yeah, that's true because it made sense and gave me direction
Hmm.
and for me to have application. But it's like the further I am like going along this journey, I'm like,
Hmm.
yo, like that's facts right there. Like that
Yeah.
is
Right.
like it hits home differently than it hit
Hmm.
home as a youth pastor.
Mm.
So it's like I'm grateful for that, and it's like, the opportunities that you get to be around great people, um, I just like clutch that, and then you also kind of look back at it and reflect and go, you know what, I learned something there, and rather than like, and you've known this, like sometimes I've had the privilege to host guests, like maybe
Yeah.
a high
Yeah.
profile guest and things,
Yeah.
and so like it's so funny, like sometimes I'm like helping do a selfie because somebody wants a selfie or a book sign, and all of that's great. Like I
Mm-hmm.
got no shade to that whatsoever. But I'm also like, my biggest takeaway wasn't a picture. My biggest takeaway is maybe something that was said while we got in the car that I was like, yo, like that right there, or maybe I asked them a question. I got a chance to ask them a question, and I was like, yo. So like having that mindset of, I just want to grow, I just want to learn, and I'm hungry to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it goes a long way, and it's like you got to prepare for that too, because
Mm.
like like some people are really good on the fly, and like I'm really good on the fly, like as a freestyler, but like coming up with a question, sometimes that takes some time to think,
Mm-hmm.
because you're asking questions. When you're asking questions, right, you're asking questions based on what season you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
and really being intentional about that question, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, it's just like you really gotta kind of have it in the pocket, right, or
Yeah.
have it in the, like, ready to go, of like where you are. So I think it's so important, like if you are preparing questions, I have this principle, like if I'm constantly asking questions that I don't know to, I think like God will send me the right people to answer those,
Mm.
or a book or something
Mm-hmm.
will actually answer that,
Mm-hmm.
a podcast will answer that. So it's like, but I've got to put myself in the mindset, put the helmet of learning on, to actually get my mindset to be that way, to prepare that question, you know. So I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's just like, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely makes sense. Just it's the what you're preparing for. It sounds like what, because once you put yourself in that mind frame or that mindset, then you those things come across your way, or you're not even they might be coming across your way, but you can recognize it because your mind is already fixated on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the power of a question is,
Hmm.
I guess it's different. Like if you tell me information versus me asking you, I'm actually withdrawing. Like I'm actually because I wanted it rather than someone telling me that. So I think
Hmm.
like there's a different dynamic. There's nothing wrong with hearing information or hearing a TED talk or hearing something. But when you actually have a question that you're looking for, even if you read it or hear something, and it's specific, and you're trying to get an answer for that, I just think you get something more out of it than you would if someone just told you like their 5 keys to life, but you didn't ask them
Hmm.
that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Well, yeah.
No, I think that makes sense. So I really like that approach. That's really cool. That's good. But we're about out of time, but I want to make sure, is there anything that we haven't talked about, either about yourself, your journey, that you want to make sure people listening get to hear?
Now, I would just say, hey, I'm first of all, super honored to be on here. And um, I would just promote your podcast, that everybody needs to get on and listen. And I have checked out, like, you do some excerpts where it's just you talking about certain things. It's like, whoa, like leadership wise, insight. And so I would say, get on this podcast. If you haven't subscribed, you need to subscribe. But hey, I'm I'm thrilled, honored, humbled to be on here, and thankful for you, Paul. Thankful for your leadership. You're paving the way. You people are watching from afar with what you're doing, and we're thankful for you and excited for. I know you're stepping into a new season, so I'm excited for you and excited for that journey.
Thank you for all that you said. No, it's really humbling. No, I really enjoyed having you on the show and what you said. Like, no, it means a lot. I just feel like I'm just someone that's continuing to learn and grow and connect with great people, incredible people. So I'm honored to have you on the show. But yeah, definitely share how people can connect with you, whether it's your socials, website, or like Rust City Church, any of that.
Yeah, I would just say you can find me on Rust City uh, church, and my social. I kept my rap name. I've had it, so it's trademark number 5, and so most of everything you can find me on social for that. And I'm happy to serve and happy to do whatever. But um, thanks, man, for having me on.
Awesome. No, it's been an honor having you on. I'll make sure that for those of you listening, you can check in the show notes to how you can get connected with him. If you're watching, you already saw it come across the screen on YouTube. But really enjoyed hearing about your story from rapping from the age of 13 to traveling across the country at 18, leading a team of people, what you've been doing in the church world with Church on the Rock and with planning different churches as well, and how you've been able to find problems. And then not only because you're not just a problem finder, there's a difference between a problem finder and being a problem solver, and being able to tap into different things, do more, continue to grow and to learn, and what you've been doing now as executive pastor at Rust City Church. So for everyone listening, I'm sure you got something from Mark's story. It's an incredible story. I know he's continuing to do incredible things, and definitely stay connected with him. Reach out if you have any questions. And if you can do that, be disciplined in your leadership, be a lifelong learner, and then you can truly be incredible. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible. Incredible.